Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man. What's good, everybody? Welcome in. We are back for another live episode of the KC Sports Authority podcast over here on YouTube, Facebook, and X or Twitter. We are currently live. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. As always, if you haven't done so yet, hit that like and subscribe button below for us over here on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate that. If you're following along on Facebook, comment section is open. Twitter, you can tweet back at us. If you're on Twitter, why don't you go ahead and retweet and heart this if you're seeing it right now. That way we get some more of you in the live stream tonight. And of course, here on YouTube, the chat box is open. Got a little KU football, a little KU basketball. Yeah, kind of a big week actually for sports. We had the start of the KU basketball season. And of course, they have a big time matchup, Battle of the Blue Bloods this weekend, Friday night, North Carolina. Going to do a little preview of that, talk about that game, as well as our reactions from game one. And then KU football, they're looking to become bowl eligible this weekend on the road down in Arizona. We'll talk a little bit about that. But yes, where is JB? JB did not prepare himself well and let his headphones die. So maybe we'll catch him a little bit later on. We'll see if he gets in here or not. But the show will roll on without him as much as we can. And no Spencer. Still no Spencer yet. Busy guy. We'll get his takes here soon on basketball. But Austin, let's just get into basketball right away. Game one, big blowout. As we kind of expected, the Fighting Doug Gottliebs rolled into town, and outside of maybe a handful of minutes where they looked decent in the first half, went the way it typically goes. Big blowout. But just general thoughts from the first game.
Well, it's the first game, so it's not going to be perfect. But I thought KU had a pretty solid showing, and DP, of course, played pretty well. Unfortunately, cramped in the second half, and heard today from Coach Self that, I know, heard from him today that it shouldn't be a continual problem. So I certainly hope that's the case. But that is my biggest worry now this season. So I thought he played a great game. But, man, Flory Badunga played unbelievable. I mean, he looks like a brand new player. And I mean, I'll tell you, he entered the transfer portal this past offseason, and he could have easily left, but he ended up sticking around, and he's going to be here for at least this season. And if he, keeps performing like the way he did in that season opener, I don't see why he wouldn't go on to go and enter himself into the NBA draft next offseason. But I mean, other than that, though, while DP was out, I thought the offense was a little bit sporadic, but I mean, that's expected. Like I said, first game jitters, you're going to work through some stuff. I thought we did an okay job with the rotation. Obviously Cole Rosario gets the start over Jaden Dawson, and Jaden had an unlucky night, but I really liked where he was putting up his shots. I did like his shot selection, but some of those shots were just really close and unlucky. But I thought Cole had a great showing in his first first game. Obviously he's a Jayhawk in the fog for the regular season, and I'm trying to think. Melvin Council did a great job,
Dude,
but
he is so fast.
Yeah,
he goes coast to coast. I mean, again, everyone's been saying it. Tyshawn Taylor 2.0 just looks just like him on the court, but man, he is wicked fast, coast to coast. Just takes it. But again, not to downplay Wisconsin, Green Bay, but not the best of competition early on in the season. So it kind of felt like another exhibition game. But yeah, Melvin Council's got some serious speed. Looking forward to see how that translates once we start playing some other big time opponents. But yeah, I thought there was a lot of positive to take away. I know the 3-4 of us, we were texting back and forth during that game. The non-Darren Peterson minutes, the offense was I don't really know outside of Flory. So talk about that a little bit. But I think early on the fan base, like the question mark is Darren Peterson's health, whatever problem. Is it going to be a consistent problem? Offense, what does it look like without him on the court? And then third, can Cole Rosario and Jaden Dawson make some threes? Concern factor, super low. Not concerned at all. I thought actually Cole Rosario, despite the fact that he has just can't hit water if he fell in a boat right now, he's having an impact. Man, that his athleticism. I'm thinking that he had two different rebounds where he just skied over everybody.
Yeah.
To get a putback, got fouled, went to the free throw line, poking loose balls, hustling up and down the court. So even if he's not making threes, which of course he will have plenty of games that he will, his athleticism was still on full display, and he was doing the little things. And we've always talked about Bill Self teams. If you want minutes, if you're not doing what you're good at or what you're supposed to be good at, you got to do other things on the court to find minutes. And Cole was doing that. Would love to see Jaden Dawson just get in a rhythm. I feel like he's going to be that guy all season that we're going to be frustrated with, but also super ecstatic for when he plays. But he seems like a guy like a running back in football where you got to get him a couple plays on the first driving and get him going, give him some momentum and rhythm because he's going to have such an important role. But Flory, absolute monster. He really took the calling out from Bill Self after the exhibition game quite well. Again, not up against great size in Wisconsin Green Bay, not a great defensive team at all, but had a dang near perfect game. I don't think he missed his first shot until mid-second half. I think he went the entire first half 6 for 6 or 8 for 8 or something, and I think he missed his first shot middle of the second half. But he looked good around the rim, a little bit of footwork. It kind of gave me some Joel Embiid vibes from a couple weeks into the season as he started to figure things out. But Flory obviously needs to have a huge season. We've talked about that a lot the last couple weeks, that outside of Darren Peterson, who's the number 2 guy, and Flory for sure is capable. And I think the offense looks more appealing when Flory is doing that. I thought Bryson Tiller again looked solid, hit a nice 3 to start off his career. Got good chunk of minutes, so we saw how that rotation looked. And I honestly thought they looked pretty good with Flory and Bryson on the floor together. Minutes there. But yeah, Melvin Council, clearly he's going to be one of those glue guys that's going to pick the tempo up when it's slouching. He's going to be the guy to go get a bucket when we need to. I think he's huge. Trey White, I guess average game, didn't really do a ton. 9 points, 1 rebound. So Bill Self definitely not going to be happy with that because he's got to rebound the ball, but really didn't do anything negative. 4 for 7 from the floor, 1 for 3 from 3, 3 assists, 1 steal. But really outside of Darren Peterson's first half, because I don't think we saw him much at all in the second half. It was the Flory Badunga show for sure. Melvin Council provided a little bit late, but boy, is it fun to see a freshman play the way that Darren Peterson does. There's just so many shots he takes that are not within the rhythm of the offense or not within the flow of the offense. It's just, I'm going to get me a bucket because that's what I do. I'm better than you, the guy in front of me, and I'm going to score over you. He had several threes that he shot over guys. I think he had that late in the shot. I can't remember when it was in the game, but he had that late in the shot clock 3 that just kind of gave me some Frank Mason vibes. That Frank Mason hitting the game winner over Duke late in the shot clock. But Darren Peterson, my gosh, is he a lot of fun. And I hope that this cramping issue that he's got or whatever is going on is not a problem, because we have yet to see him play an entire game. And the first regular season. And Friday he's going to have to play because North Carolina, top 25 team, they've got their freshman phenom, Caleb Wilson, who looked really good in their opener. Seth Trimble coming back for them. So they're a solid team that we're going to have our best players play.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the case. And yeah, Bob, this is great. He does make it look so easy. There's been a lot of talk of Darren Peterson is reminiscent of, a little bit of Kobe's play style. And I see bits and pieces of that, but yeah, for an 18-year-old freshman, he looks so polished. He looks so comfortable on the court. He looks like he belongs out there, and he looks like he can take control. And then you balance that with the Melvin Council, the upperclassman presence that he's got, a rim runner in Flory, who's going to be great in the pick and roll. This team's going to be exciting. They just got to figure out how to work within the flow of the offense when DP is not out there. But other takeaways you had from the game, anything that stood out to you?
Well, I didn't think we shot well from the 3-point line. At halftime we were shooting like 3 of 14, I believe, and Darren I think had all 3 of them, I believe. So, or actually, I think just 2 of them. Bryson Tiller had 1.
Yeah, I think Bryson had 1 in the first half.
But yeah, that's right, because he had that 3 coming literally right out of the timeout, and I was really impressed by that. But I think one thing that KU needs to remember this season, as much of a rock star Darren Peterson is, we can't rely on him to do everything for us, because once we start getting to that place, I mean, the team's going to be so dysfunctional out there when it comes to playing a game, and you can't just because he's going to be potentially the first player picked in the NBA draft next year doesn't mean he can do everything for you. And so we've really got to find the players that can complement him best, and then obviously that's what these first few games are for. And we're still figuring out the rotation stuff. I mean, obviously Friday, big game, and I really love that we're getting oh my god,
inappropriate but hilarious.
I don't know. No. Anyways,
no holes in his game right now, that's for sure, other than not playing second half.
I mean, it's a big game Friday, and I love that KU is getting an early road test like this.
Oh yeah, dude, we said this in our preseason.
Like December, not in December. Like we're literally doing it second game of the season. And
yeah, I know we said in our preseason show, this is to me the best part of. I mean, this is something college basketball has. I think it's been about 6-7 years now that it's kind of taken this model. And oh wow, I didn't realize I did that. Jeez. Unintentional 6-7 there. But I like it. It's so much fun seeing these big marquee matchups early. It's great for the ratings. It's great for viewership. It really gets your attention to basketball early because, again, football is king in the fall. And if you're playing, Nobodiesville State and you're winning 95-53 the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season before conference play, people aren't really buying in. On the flip side, though, TCU schedules a game with New Orleans and loses. So there's that for them. Rest of the Big 12 looks pretty good to start.
Yeah, I don't even know if TCU should be. I think they're disqualified from the NIT now. I mean,
should be.
That team went 4-27 last season, and you lost by 4 to them in your season opener.
On a TCU team that has restructured and should be pretty solid. But anyway, yeah, big matchup Friday night. North Carolina, this is great. The home and home. North Carolina's here last year. Big game, one of the biggest games in recent history at Allen Fieldhouse, one of the loudest games at Allen Fieldhouse in recent history. Yeah. Little bit different looking team. But this is something I was going to bring up to both you guys, but I'll ask you too. Early on, the first week of college basketball, just an observation. Not that we haven't had this in years past, but the freshmen this year, like the top guys, have all come out their first game and dominated to start. And I think that's a different look for college basketball. I don't know if it's good, if it's bad. I don't really have thoughts on that yet, but that was just an observation I had. The Boozer twins look really good. DeBonta didn't shoot very well the other night, 9 of 18, but had a good game. Caleb Wilson scored 21 points the other night. So these star freshmen that we're, seeing coming back into the fold are really taking over early and leaving their mark on the programs as quick as possible. But I don't know. When we look back into this year, this might be one of the top 3 freshman classes in the last 10, 15 seasons. Got the potential for it. But yeah, big matchup Friday. The other observation I had from this game, obviously the 3-point shooting, like you said, rough. Cole Rosario and Jaden Dawson go 1 of 11 from 3, or I'm sorry, 2 for 11 from 3. Probably not going to happen that often, especially not at home. But that's going to be a concern. Can KU score points consistently enough without the threat of the 3-ball? Hopefully. And then the other big observation I had was they did pretty well getting to the free throw line and making free throws. I think they went 18 for 24 from the free throw line. Flory goes 5 of 6 from the free throw line, which is fantastic to see. Again, is he probably going to do that every single night? No. but seeing him go 5 for 6 was great. Darren Peterson goes 4 for 4, gets to the line. Having the ability to get to the foul line was just something this team did not have much of the last 2 years. Even though Hunter should have been getting foul calls way more than he got.
Yeah.
But this team's got guys that can attack. Melvin Council can get to the lane. He can not only get a bucket on a fast break like that, but if he attacks the lane like that, he'll get to the foul line. Seeing the bigs be capable of hitting free throws is just also something you don't often see at Kansas. So really glad to see that. But I think Flory can actually meet or even exceed Hunter Dickinson's average from last year. That'd be tough. I mean, as much crap as we throw at Hunter Dickinson for his deficiencies, well, I think he went 18 and 10 last year. That's tough. Yeah. Flory's not an aggressive enough rebounder yet. Consistently, I think, in my opinion. Offensive rebounder, good. Defensively, he's still kind of learning how to use his frame and needs to put on some weight and kind of, learn how to play bully ball in the post. But I think he's got the potential. I don't think we're going to see that many games where Flory just completely takes over like this and goes 20 to 25 points in the paint, because some of those shots he just hit them. He just hit shots. Is he going to go? What do you go 9 for 11? Is he going to go 9 for 11 all the time? Probably not, unless he's dunking the ball. But some of those hook shots, he just had perfect spin timing. There's going to be games where those don't go in at all. So it's good to see that early, but hopefully that gives him some confidence going into Friday to get started. But yeah, he won't play enough minutes to match 100%, Adam.
That's
totally agree with that. He's still foul prone. 3 fouls. I know he had 2 fouls in the first half at some point. Did pretty well the rest of the game. But again, Bryson Tiller looks solid. I think Bryson Tiller is a more than capable backup 5. Probably could start at times if need be. Again, his athleticism has been shown offensively and defensively. He also seems like a guy that just understands the floor spacing pretty well. I know he wants to play the 3 and Bill wants him to play the 5, so they're going to have some back and forth battle there. But he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders and sees the court well to find spacing. Self's comments on not coaching them on 3s was genuinely encouraging. Yeah, somebody asked, I don't remember if it was pregame or postgame, about 3-point shooting and how he instructs his guys. And he basically said, he's something like, I'm not pressuring them to shoot 3s, but Jaden and Cole need to shoot 3s. They're going to shoot 3s. We want them to shoot 3s. Take them in the rhythm of the offense, but I'm expecting them to go out there and take shots, which is kind of different because in years past, Bill's kind of been a little not hesitant to give the green light, but there hasn't been that many guys where he's like, hey, don't shoot 3s. I know you're capable of shooting 3s. Could you imagine going back to the Brandon Green year, and because of all the other things Brandon Green didn't do, Bill Self's like, hey, why don't you stop shooting 3s and pay attention to the rest of the game? No, he's saying, Cole, Jaden, you need to shoot 3s. You guys need to get your shots up. Melvin needs to probably take a little bit more than he does. Marco's got to get his shots up. So it's nice to see the transition, I guess, of focus from Bill Self. It's still always going to be attack the paint, get to the rim, work through your big man down low, let your star guard take over when need be. But in this day and age of college basketball, if you don't have a 3-point threat, it is very difficult to win consistently and go deep in a tournament. But yeah, I was generally happy with the way that game went, especially the second half, just seeing them do what they should do and break away the game and take off on their typical run. But big game Friday. Did you catch any of the North Carolina game the other night or see any highlights or anything from it?
I haven't seen any highlights or anything from that game yet, but something I will probably do tomorrow whenever I've got the time. But I know right away that this is going to be a big challenge for Kansas. And obviously I didn't know going into this game that Bill Self had never been to Chapel Hill before. So this will be very interesting. I mean, KU and Bill Self, they've gone to so many different places. And I also heard that he's never been to Cameron Indoor as well at Duke.
True. The only time we play this type of game is either in the tournament or in one of those early season tournaments.
That's right.
Which, again, this is why this is so good for college basketball. Having these big-time programs, do these home and homes. cross conference early on. I know you always get like the Big 12 SEC challenge in December, but this is so much fun. Like, again, two of the best programs of all time doing this back and forth, home and home series. It's just fantastic for college basketball. But yeah, first time to Chapel Hill. I mean, that's got to be, as much as we're obviously not Duke or North Carolina fans, having the ability to go, because again, historic program. It's one of those, like, non-KU fans want to come to Allen Fieldhouse because of the history, the aura you feel walking through the Fieldhouse. Chapel Hill, one of those schools. Michael Jordan, got a lot of history there. You got the KU Roy Williams connection there. Dean Smith. There's a lot of history in that building as well. So it should be fun, electric environment. But yeah, North Carolina 94-54 over Central Arkansas, their first game at home. Don't know how much you can really take away from that. Caleb Wilson goes 8 for 10 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. So he looked good. A couple of rebounds, a couple of assists. Their transfer, Henry Vasar from Arizona, had one of his better games of his career, goes 14 points, 10 rebounds. And then, of course, the one that I circled, Kyan Evans, 4 for 7 from 3 in the home opener. This kid's out of Missouri, out of Kansas City. So local kid going out there. So there's your guy that's going to light up from 3 per usual when KU faces a team like this. And, of course, they've got their was he super senior Seth Trimble? I guess he's not that. He's only in his 5th year. Feels like he's been there a long time. Early thoughts on this matchup, what we need to see, what you expect, the game plan going into this, high scoring, back and forth. What are you anticipating in this game?
Well, I really think we're going to get our first look at, what kind of rotation we're going to have, especially for the backcourt. I mean, I think, in the first game, it's going to look a little bit sporadic. Like, players are, like the starters aren't going to play maybe as long as maybe the rest of the guys are on the bench. But, or I'm wording it wrong. I guess like the bench guys are going to have more time than usual. But like this time around, I'm really curious on how many minutes, each of the 5 starters get. That's one thing I'll be looking out for. Do all of them get 30 plus minutes at least? Is there one of them that only ends up playing like maybe 25? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. One thing I want to point out here real quick, and I really love this from Coach Self. He asked, is Carolina without Kansas, and is Kansas without Carolina? And the answer
That's a good question.
It is a great question, and I like the way that he kind of articulated all that. I mean, yeah, there's just a lot of history between these two schools, especially with basketball, and the pipelines are there. Obviously, when we played them last time, I was there, and it was an electric atmosphere. It was one of my favorite games that I've ever gone to for a basketball game in general, both professionally and in college. But when I look at this game, though, you're talking, about a team that, is going to play in front of a sold out crowd if it's not sold out yet. In front of, 22,000 fans. I think this is going to end up being one of KU's like toughest road tests of the season. And for you to have that, in your second game of the season, it's a huge advantage, because not only does it prepare you for Big 12 play, but it also prepares you for just big games. I mean, because there's going to be so many of them this season. But I'm really curious to see, what the rotation is going to look like. With DP out, does El Marco end up taking that 6th spot? I know Bill Self talked about it a little bit today of El Marco being the 6th man, but how does El Marco do being the 6th man guy if that's what KU ends up doing, when taking DP out? Can they move the ball a little bit better? I don't think the ball movement was as clean as maybe we would have liked to see. There were a couple of sloppy turnovers, but defensively, I thought we played all right and got like 4 turnovers, I think, in like the first 8 minutes. So that was a huge positive to see. But I think KU's they've got to set the tone like immediately, because if you let North Carolina, get off to this good start, I mean, we've seen it, in the past 2 seasons with some of these road games for KU. You let the other team, get off to like a 10-0 start, and you're already calling a timeout, with like 3 minutes into the game. It's just stuff that that was a problem for us last year. I mean, we've got to set the tone right away, and if not, at least just keep it competitive and stay with it. Don't let it be like a double-digit lead for the other team. Because, I mean, North Carolina, if they get off to a big lead in this game, I do believe that they have a chance to take this game and run away with it, just because of the fact that, this is in North Carolina. Coach Self has never coached in Chapel Hill. I don't want to say it's a disadvantage, but if you look at it from that perspective, it may be. But, I mean, Coach Self has coached at so many different places for all the teams that he's coached for. But yeah, it'll be a big challenge, atmosphere wise.
Yeah, I think that what I'm keying in on because of the atmosphere is the backcourt. I mean, again, Darren Peterson has not played more than 20-ish minutes in between the exhibition games and the first game. So if he's not playing north of 30 minutes, you're still relying on Melvin Council and Marco Jackson to not only run the offense but facilitate and do all that. And it just hasn't looked very pretty. Now, obviously, you haven't needed it to in these first couple exhibition games and against Green Bay, but that's something I'm looking at. Elmarko played 17 minutes the other night. Didn't really offer much. 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 2 of KU's 3 turnovers, surprisingly. I mean, surprised that we only had 3 turnovers, but Elmarko had 2 of them. And he just didn't do much. And you need – I think he only took 1 shot too. It was a little kind of forced. I think it was like a forced floater spin around something on the right side. So he just didn't have much of an impact. And obviously we can't go the whole season with Elmarko being that. He's got to do more. So I think this is fantastic test. Darren Peterson's probably going to be fine in the spotlight. He's played in big games. He gets it. He understands it. Flory's been in enough of these. I don't know quite how he matches up with their bigs yet. I haven't dove into enough of North Carolina because they have 1 game to look at. But Elmarko and Melvin Council could be very key in this game, taking some of the pressure off of Darren Peterson and seeing them kind of turn on. I'd love to see Elmarko turn on and make a big impact, because he's another guy that I look at rotation-wise, him and Jaden Dawson, as 2 guys that you could see their minutes slip. The more Darren Peterson plays, the more Melvin Council's out there. Is Bill Self going to go with a smaller guard lineup? Who knows? So I think those are 2 guys that you have to have a big impact. And I think Cole Rosario is the other one. Can he, even if he's struggling to shoot well, can he, as a freshman, continue to provide an impact, whether it's on the boards, defensively, just the energy he brings, the athleticism? I think he's going to be a key one to watch. And then can this team use their athleticism to their advantage? One of the things that works well in a big road matchup like this is force turnovers and get out in transition. We know that this team is super athletic this year and has all the makings of being a strong defensive team that can turn teams over, but can they get out in transition, steal some of that energy away from the crowd and put it back in themselves? But it's going to be fun. Like this to me, in my mind, what I'm picturing is that Kansas Duke game from 2013 with Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, that type of back and forth, grinded out to the very end. Would love to see that, but this kind of has that feel, that early on Big 12. Yeah, Carolina's big man. Thank you for bringing it up because it was lost to me. Henry Vasar's got some nice length, so Flory's going to have a little bit of a challenge there. I guess that's one other takeaway I had from Monday. Despite the blowout, we really didn't see much Paul Mbia. I think he played 8 minutes, which is fine. He played a couple more late in the game, but I would have thought with the size advantage that maybe that was something we'd see a little bit more of him in the rotation. Did not. We did see some Samis Calderon, 9 minutes. He actually provided a little bit more on the box score than in his 9 minutes than Marco did in his 17. But rotation is going to be key. I think the other guy that you should circle in this is probably Trey White. Trey White's a guy that's going to be matched up against Caleb Wilson a lot. Is he the veteran defensive presence he can be? Can he slow him down? Can he cause him, frustration? Can he force him off of his spots? Can he, get up in his face when he's trying to shoot over him? I think that's a key matchup to look at because he's going to be the guy guarding him the most. And again, we'd like to think Trey White is going to be that guy, but he hasn't really been tested yet. So big matchup for sure. Do you have any? I haven't seen a spread yet on this game. Where do you kind of see this game playing? High scoring, low scoring?
Man, I mean, based on last year, I think this might be a high-scoring game, and I think it's got the potential to. As long as Darren Peterson is healthy and he's not cramping again or whatever, then I do anticipate this being a high-scoring game. How big of a scoring game is this going to be? Now that it's in Chapel Hill and not in the fog, I don't know. I think it'll be like in the 80s range. I think that's probably a fair guess. I mean, it'd be like, I don't know, maybe a 87 to 82 type of game, or
I did find
like an 84 to 78.
ESPN's got the over under at 153.5 with UNC as a 1.5 point favorite at home. The funny thing is, I don't know if you guys can see this on here. Matchup Predictor, though, has KU as the projected favorite to win, despite the fact they're 1.5 point underdog. I've never understood how that works, but
yeah, don't believe that.
Big matchup on a Friday night to kick things off, and then next week they've got more big time matchups. They got the Player Eras tournament. You got Duke on the schedule coming up. So again, these first 2 to 3 weeks, we're gonna have a good idea of what this team looks like against good competition. Because again, we've said it before, Big 12 play is gonna be super difficult this year. Houston should have blown the doors off of their opponent the other night. They did not. They struggled to start, but Houston's going to be really, really good. BYU is going to be really good. Iowa State's going to be really good. Texas Tech really good. And then you've got a lot of teams that are going to be kind of middle of the pack, but solid and deep teams. So it's going to be fun. But I don't have that much else on basketball yet. The Darren Peterson health thing we kind of talked about already. That's the only really concern I have. It just continues to feel weird. There's not a lot of real conversation on what's going on there. It's kind of been like they're playing it close to home. It just feels weird. I don't know if it's how much of it's like the Kevin McCullough stuff where he didn't want to play, but he was eligible to play. But pain tolerance, I don't know. But that's the only thing that feels weird to me. But outside of that, no, I think it's a good start to the year. Looking forward to the competition. But well, let's flip the court from the hardwood to the gridiron to the field. KU's got the opportunity to become bowl eligible this week. I know we're kind of partially out on football with some of the disappointment. They do beat Oklahoma State 38-21 at home this past weekend. I said on here, and I told you this on Twitter as well, that anything less than a 20-point blowout, I was still going to be left disappointed. Still left disappointed. Defense basically let Oklahoma State have one of their best games of the season. Offensively, still struggled at times there. Run game, though, looked good for KU. Got both Williams and Highshaw involved. JD was back to looking pretty decent, but didn't quite blow the doors off like we had kind of hoped for. I think Oklahoma State did a pretty good job of keeping it somewhat close. But Arizona on the road this weekend, and then that opens up, the next 3 weeks of a really kind of challenging schedule. We've said, and of course JB's not on here to do this with us, but we've said how this team really feels like 5-7 or 6-6. It doesn't really feel like anything else, but KU could go on a run here, still finish 8-4. Arizona, not great in Big 12 play, but they're 5-3 on the season. They've had games they've looked good. They've had games they've looked bad. But Noah Fafita, solid quarterback, 21 touchdowns on the year, only 4 interceptions. afternoon game, so it's not one of those nighttime games in Arizona, but still another big matchup there. Arizona is a 4.5-point favorite, rightfully so. Thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I'm a little bit scared about Arizona. I mean, if you look at what they did last week, I mean, they put up 50-plus points on Colorado on the road. So, they're going to be building off of that momentum going into this game. And man, that Oklahoma State win was pretty uninspiring. That's probably the best way for me to kind of describe how I felt. I mean, it was great that we won, and I'm glad that we're back to being above 500. But it's not going to be that way for very long. It looks like. I'm ready for us to move on from whatever we're doing on defense. I mean, listen, I've tried and I've tried to remain patient, and I've tried to keep my mouth shut, but I can't with this defense anymore. You let the worst team in college football right now in the entire country put up 21 points on you like that. Now I will say this: the targeting call that was called late in the game that led to that third touchdown of the day for Oklahoma State, I thought that was BS because it looked like a completely normal hit to me. And, Leipold said afterwards, I can't keep spending my money on commenting about the crappy, targeting calls. But
we have had some bad targeting calls this year.
We really have. And
I think we've had a
I don't
targeting
know
call almost every game, but maybe 2 of them.
I was just about to ask, are we the most penalized team? Do we have the most targeting calls in the entire country?
Let's see if I can find that stat.
I mean, because it wouldn't shock me. I mean, the one on Bengali Kamara though, that's probably the worst one that we've had this year.
That was atrocious, and that was such a game changer
atrocious.
too. We saw second half how different that defense looked when Kamara got back out there versus the first half, and really to me, this defense is bad. Outside of Kamara, this defense just doesn't do enough. Dean Miller still, where are you? You haven't had much of an impact.
I don't think he's really, providing a whole lot of pressure on the outside. I mean, I feel like our front line's, creating a little bit of pressure, but it's just, I think the biggest issue for me is when it comes to our defense, and this is, not just the problem with us, trying to get off the field, that is a problem, but I feel like our secondary is giving the wide receivers way too much space when they're lining up at the line of scrimmage. And that has been a problem. I don't understand it. I don't get why you're giving them that 3 to 5 yards, lining up, so far away, because it's I feel like we're getting beat really, really badly in the short passing game. And then, we get tired as a defense, and then that opens up, the run game. It opens up the deep passing game as well with some play action. I mean, that's the thing. We can't, defend the short passing game because our cornerbacks and secondary are giving the wide receivers way too much space. I mean, just look at all of the games that KU's played so far. And I mean, if you went and watched that Arizona-Colorado game, I mean, if KU continues to play like the way that they've been playing this season, it's going to be a long day. I absolutely think that there's a chance that Arizona could put up a lot of points on this defense. Now, I really hope I'm wrong, and I hope the defense shows up to play and turns the tide a little bit at least. And, obviously it's not going to happen completely because we're, the final 4 weeks of the season, you had your opportunity to change it and turn it around.
But this defense is what it is now.
The defense has gotten worse.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense because most programs, most teams, you get better as the season goes along. You always have injuries. And I mean, this team has been beat up by injuries, especially in the secondary. They've got a young secondary. But just the preparation, we've talked about it with Leipold, how ill-prepared they looked against K-State. But this defense, really, if you go through the entire season, they've had maybe 4 quarters of high-quality football. You think of that second half against UCF, great 2-quarter stretch from the defense. But outside of that, they've gotten torched on multiple levels, multiple times, which has to go. Some of that, is just talent on the field. I think their secondary is probably one of the worst in the Big 12. You lost a lot of high-quality guys last year, but Devin Dye's an experienced veteran. Jalen Todd's a very talented underclassman. But Lyric Rawls, I mean, he's a hard-hitting guy, but he gets lost in coverage.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting to me, and I want to say it was Henry Greenstein that maybe brought it up, or maybe it was Kevin Flaherty. I think it was after the K-State game. DK McDonald talked, and they were like, "Hey, Mason Ellis is back and healthy, but you're not playing him at a position of strength and putting your guys, in positions to be successful." And DK kind of like shrugged off. He's like, "Well, injury here, injury there. We decided to play this. This was our game plan, and it didn't work." It's like, what? But your personnel. So if we, the fans, the riders that are plugged into this team, have a better sense of your personnel than you, the coach who's working with these guys every day. And again, I have always said it is easy to play armchair quarterback. It's easy to coach from the sidelines or from the stands and do what we think makes sense. But you got to put your guys in positions to succeed. And when your defense is getting torched all the time, yeah, why are you giving them 5 to 6 extra yards of space to catch? Because we know one of the things this defense is completely bad at is tackling. They're not a good tackling team. So would you rather have less distance you have to go try and tackle the guy, or give the guy more space to break a tackle and get around you? And again, outside of Bengali Kamara and really Trey Lathan, and at times when he's a healthy Mason Ellis, this defense has struggled at every single level, and they've gone backwards. I think coming into the year, we were all looking forward to a different look from Brian Borland, because Borland was an average to slightly above average defensive coordinator, and he had good seasons with the right players. But he was a guy that coached a lot like Bob Sutton when he was with the Chiefs. He had his scheme, and you guard this side of the field, you guard that side of the field, and we're not going to change it. Well, offense can go, okay, Kobe Bryant over there is a shutdown corner, or Melo Dotson shutdown corner. We're just going to move our star receiver to the other side because we know they're not going to move their corner over. And now you get a little bit different defense, but DK doesn't seem to me that he's making as many in-game adjustments that are at least successful on the field. Yeah. And again, maybe that is just a personnel issue. He can only play the guys he's got in front of him. So going into recruiting, transfer portal, and all that, you do have a lot of new pieces on this defense. You have a lot of young guys on this defense. But it's been very clear that we just don't have the athletes in the secondary to keep up with high-powered, high-octane offense, which doesn't bode well for this game, because Arizona is high-scoring, but Arizona's probably got a top-5 defense in the Big 12. They have the 5th least amount of points given up throughout the season. We've seen KU's offense be a little streaky at times this year, despite all the success they have had. If you can get Jalen uncomfortable and you can get the offensive line playing backwards on skates, you can really, really frustrate this offense and take away everything they want to do. So it's definitely going to be a challenge. I don't have high confidence. We said that of all the games left, this is their most winnable game on the schedule for sure. You got the job done last week.
You look at Iowa State. I mean, look, they lost to Arizona State at home, and they played their backup quarterback, and I think he had a rushing record of some sort.
They have been dicey.
Defense, which, hear me out here. I mean, when we put Zeke in for that one play that he had where he had like a 40-yard run or whatever, I'm just going to put out this suggestion. I mean, I tweeted this out too. Like, we need to play Zeke Marshall more, because it's clear to me that, when you look at Iowa State, I feel like that's our winnable game. But maybe, play Zeke Marshall a ton against Iowa State and see what happens. Because, I mean, like, with the way Iowa State looked, they're not looking too good right now. But that's their senior day. So that will be tough. I mean,
a high energy day for them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then Utah, obviously that's going to be an incredibly tough game. And
I think the best thing you have going for you in that game is that's Friday morning, 11 a.m. right after Thanksgiving.
And I also think, here's the positive thing. I absolutely think it's a trap game for Utah, because if you think about, they could be in a position to possibly maybe punch their ticket to the Big 12 championship game. Who knows how the next few weeks are going to play out, and maybe they're playing for a college football playoff spot. I mean, like I said, who knows how the final 4 weeks are going to play out here. But I mean, it's totally a game where KU can go in and somehow find a way to win. And it's also on senior day too. So I would think that the team would maybe play with a little bit of a fire underneath them,
Sure.
and maybe go out there and close out the season with a ranked win at home. I mean, it's been a while since we beat a ranked team at home. And the last time we did it, against Oklahoma, but yeah, I mean, Arizona's defense, you brought it up there, top 5 in the Big 12. Is that what you said?
Yeah, with most statistics, they're top 5 in the Big 12.
Yeah, I really like their defense. Defensive coordinator Danny Gonzalez, former New Mexico head football coach. I believe
The most points they've given up so far in Big 12 play is 21 to BYU. 21 is not going to get the job done this weekend. I can tell you that.
Yeah, he was at New Mexico as their head coach for a couple of seasons, and then prior to that, he was at Arizona State as their DC. So now he's at Arizona. The other Arizona school is their DC.
I guess I was wrong.
He's a
Texas Tech. They gave up 34, but
yeah,
Texas Tech's on a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, they are. I really like Danny Gonzalez, and he's a great defensive coordinator. So it's going to be a tough challenge for our offense. And I think the biggest thing for our offense, we got to protect Jalen better, because I feel like we kind of struggled a little bit with protection still. I don't know if Jalen is in his rhythm right now. I really think that Texas Tech game kind of shook him up a little bit, and then like going into that K-State game, I feel like it made it a little bit worse. And you look at the Oklahoma State game, there were some throws that he missed that were just like right there, wide open. Could have been a first down or much more. I mean, he's been missing some throws, but I mean, statistically, he's had his best season yet. But at the same time, I don't know. Something's been off with Jalen.
Yeah,
so
he hasn't been as efficient throwing the ball. He still looked good running the ball, but he hasn't been as efficient the last couple of weeks. And yeah, that Texas Tech game, like such a season ruin. I mean, again, we said the K-State game was
season altering
ruiner, but yeah, but Texas Tech just like they dominated your offensive line in such a way that they really haven't recovered as well. I can't remember. I was trying to pull up. I can't remember how many sacks Oklahoma State had this last game. I was trying to see if it'll pop up.
I think they had like maybe 3 or 4 sacks.
But yeah, they were still getting good pressure, and the offensive line also seems like they are regressing as the season progresses. The offensive line seems to be regressing, just like the defense. And we saw it with Patrick Mahomes 2 years ago, where he started playing with some happy feet because he couldn't trust the offensive line. So he was leaving the pocket early. He was throwing to guys before they were open because of the worry of the pass rush. And maybe some of that's happening with Jalen too, is he knows, hey, usually, I need to get this throw off in 2.5 seconds when ideally the play call is asking for 3 to 3.5 seconds. I just don't have that time. So I gotta force things. And we've seen that when Jalen forces things and plays out of rhythm, yeah, he struggles. I mean, that was half of last season was that. But the positive I'll take away wasn't the most efficient game running the ball, because you had 28. I think that between the two of them, you had 14 carries for LaShawn and Daniel Highshaw each. So 28 carries for like 135 yards. It still averages out to 4.5 yards a carry. One of those was a long 32-yard run for LaShawn, but the run game's gotta have a presence. You've got to be able to stack these chunk 4, 5, 6 yards at a time to open up the play calling. I did think, I don't remember if you caught this, but it was in his post-game presser, despite the fact that they actually ran the ball quite a bit last week, somebody asked Leipold something about the run game. He's like, yeah, believe it or not, I joke with Z that you can actually call more than one run play in a row. Like you can run the ball twice in a row if you want to, because they were staggering their run plays, and Z likes to open up and throw the ball. But run game's got to be effective. Helps you control the tempo, helps you control the play clock. And what we've seen with KU is when you have an effective run game, man, does it wear down a defense. Just ground and pound, offensive lines, pushing, shoving your guys back. It just takes a lot out of your defense. And when that's the case, it truly opens up the rest of the field for these deep throws, to get Cam Pickett open in space, to hit Emmanuel Henderson down the field, to get your tight ends in the middle of the field and find some work to do there. So that's going to be an important piece of this game for sure. KU definitely struggles when the offense doesn't control the tempo and the time of possession. But big several weeks down the stretch, is this team set up to do what they did last year and recover nicely and finish strong? We'll see. They've got two really, really tough defenses after this game that they still have to go up against in BYU and Houston. But 6-6 is certainly doable. Bowl eligibility is right there in front of you. This is a good opportunity this weekend to try and get it done.
We would be talking bowl, a bowl game right now if KU beat K-State and made adjustments during the bye week. But no, we
just beat
can't have
Cincinnati
anything.
like they should have
You gotta fight. You gotta do it the hard way. I don't understand, but yeah, I mean, these final three games, I mean, I talked about it, as the season kind of went on, going into the UCF game, I said, lose to UCF, it's going to shrink our chances of making a bowl game. And then going into the K-State game, I said, if KU wants to make a bowl game, with an absolute certainty, they've got to beat K-State, because I knew, coming into this season that, somehow those final three games were going to be tough. And I figured that Utah was going to be a much tougher game than what everybody kind of anticipated before the season. Obviously, Iowa State senior day, like I said, always tough to play somebody at their place on their senior day. And then just playing at Arizona in general, I mean, I feel like it's hard to play at both Arizona and Arizona State. I don't know why. I mean, it honestly doesn't matter what time of day either. Everybody's like, I'm so glad that it's not a night game. Well, you're still playing at Arizona, and
must be that dry desert
place
heat
for you to really, really struggle. So you got to be ready.
Yeah, big matchups for both KU football, KU basketball this weekend. A lot that could, I think, a bigger weekend for KU football. I think just for the sake of their season. If KU basketball goes and loses to North Carolina, does it change anything on the season? No, it gives you a very big win when it comes to postseason seeding down the line. But a loss to North Carolina, unless it's just a blowout, ugly fashion, a loss to North Carolina doesn't really negatively impact this team that much. But it's gonna be a good barometer of what this team's capable of. Now, college basketball, most teams do not look anywhere close to what they look like the first 2 weeks of the season and the back half of the season. Because if we remember, KU looked really good against Duke last year. And KJ Adams shut down Cooper Flagg for most of that game, by the way. And then KU went on to just struggle through most of that season. So going to look very different towards the end of the year, but a great barometer early on for this team. But that's really all I have tonight. Anything else on your mind?
I'm trying to think. I mean, we've talked about basketball, North Carolina, and then football. Then of course Iowa State and Utah after that with the bye week. I'm trying to think of anything else that I left out here.
And those in the chat, you can give us ideas for future ones. My goal is each week to not just keep this as we'll keep this as a live show every Wednesday night, 8:30, but we can start mixing in more of the other stuff I typically do in standalone episodes, whether it's Chiefs talk, Royals off season. We'll sprinkle in some other segments for sure from week to week. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, shout out to the KU soccer team. They were able to pick up a victory. Was it today's the 5th? Yeah, picked up a victory tonight over Colorado 2-1. So, and I do believe that the championship game they'll be playing BYU. So, KU was in it last year, defeated TCU 1-0, won the tournament, and they're back. So, I need to double check here, but I kind of heard about this tournament, the Big 12 tournament going on like a couple of days ago. So I need to be kind of caught up to speed here, but yeah, Big 12 semifinal win, 2-1 over Colorado.
Solid win. KU soccer might be having the best season of the fall sports so far.
Hey, Nate Lee is unbelievable.
Volleyball's had a good year as well too, but Nate Lee's done a heck of a job since he's taken over. Keeping them really good. I mean, they had I think it was during KU basketball home opening the other night, they had a big game. that they looked quite impressive in. But yeah, KU soccer's had a solid start to the year. Volleyball's had a couple tough, heartbreaking losses, but they've been having a solid year. Women's basketball off to a good start. They look like they have another potentially solid squad that could make an NCAA tournament and go deep with Samaya Nichols leading it. So pretty solid season for KU fall sports. Just wish football had those 2 more wins, despite that they're being 5-4, having a winning season, which is better than most seasons we've had in the last 15 years. But once you have expectations, the second you stop living up to them, it's negative talk from the fan base for sure. But yeah, that's all I got. We will wrap up there. Make sure, again, if you haven't done so yet, give us a subscription. Subscribe to us over here on YouTube. We would be super grateful for that. Follow us Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod, as you see on the screen below. And come back every single Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. We will have a live show as we get deeper into basketball season and football slows down and other things go on. We'll start having a couple other guests come on some of these live shows, mix in some more Chiefs talk, Royals talk, other sports. If there's things you guys would love to hear us discuss beyond the realm of just KU athletics in general, feel free to send them our way and we will mix them in for sure. But that will wrap it up for this one. We appreciate you guys as always, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Rock chalk.